3, 2, 1. Mori is coming. Ooh, a bit of a dark twist on the main Elder Scrolls theme. Those of you asking about music. That's the beam. The Arcanist can do a massive beam. Yeah, like a laser beam. This is live as well. This is from Las Vegas. Woo! Matt's late! Matt, our king!
Wow.
Sorry, I get way too excited during these.
Next year is ESO's 10th anniversary year, and we're already...
10 years? Oh my God, that makes me feel so
We're
ancient.
already planning on how we honor all of you and the 10th anniversary of ESO with a big in-person anniversary event next year. Stay tuned for details. We're still working on it.
Yes, please. I'm going. I'm there. I don't care where it is. I'm going.
The whole core of the story is a secret so powerful, so terrible that could unmake reality. And so that as a starting point, right? Mora just, he wiggles his way onto the scene, right?
This
so
is just
this is a
in
great,
like the first quest, by the way.
To show
It's
Mora
like in the
a
game. It's not a
different
cinematic.
light.
He
Unlike a lot of the other
comes out
differences,
of the well.
He, especially in this
Cool.
story, exists in a more neutral space.
We started talking about the Black Book. Like that was like
The
an
triangles
immediate,
you see.
aha moment where
That's
we were
them
like,
building the
that's
combo,
cool, because you can
the
draw from
crux.
so much power and so many secrets, and that
And
can
then
be
you
any
expend the
kind
crux
of magic, and we went
with
with this, like,
abilities,
this
or you
cosmic.
stack it up.
There's no tentacle line. There's no abyssal seas line. There's no rune line.
Plenty of
I know,
tentacles
it's-
everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be happy
Every
to
time
hear, guys.
you know, we talk about this, it's like,
Tentacles
oh man, there should have been a
peppered
tentacle.
throughout the skill lines.
I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Fey Carver. That thing's awesome. It's
Yep.
basically a laser beam that you blast out from you any direction you want, and you just control it. And I think we got some audio here.
Yep. And you can go like this, so you
But
can
it's
move it
pretty
left
cool.
and
Like,
right.
when you hear it in game,
It
it's
pretty
just
much
like,
just decimates
it
everything in
sounds
front of you.
Almost like
Feels good.
I can't word it any other way than just a badass laser firing off of you. It's really cool.
I'm looking forward to screaming Tetsuo at the top of my lungs
Yeah.
every time I do. Abyssal Impact, have I mentioned?
We were
Abyssal-
already doing it in the demo. Everyone was like,
You seem to like that one.
So in just a few minutes, we're going to dive into the new zone. But first, we'd like to show you how this all comes together in a brand new world premiere trailer.
ooh,
Oh, I love it.
Yes! Oh, the graphics! Heck yes! Shadow over Morrowind.
We use the power of forbidden knowledge, searching for untold secrets. But there is a price to be paid when calling upon the unknown.
And that's Apocrypha you're seeing there.
Sometimes the unknown answers.
Music. This creature. Fuck that creature specifically. It's terrifying. It's like a spider wraith thing. Creature design is very cool in this.
Open your mind. The knowledge you seek is waiting.
Okay, that was really cool.
Sounds like a
That's
pleasant
all
place.
books as well. Everything you see, like the tentacles
Good
built
vacation
out of
place,
stacks
right,
of
yeah.
books.
So we went with cosmic horror was the big thing, but also we went back to what players have experienced.
There
in
it is.
The Dragonborn DLC. You've seen the lurkers. You've
Gina's
seen
favorite.
the. That's it. You've seen the lurkers, and you've seen the.
Kinda looks like something from
Seekers,
Alien.
And we
Look
were
at the
going to
head.
take those and largely build on what they
Yeah.
did, and then make sure it fits in our game with all the
Creep.
abilities. There you go. It's this little books that
Companion
have
pet,
creatures that are
please.
inside them, and they inhabit them
gotta
and
be a
go around.
companion
So
pet at some point.
they're little creatures you're going to see throughout Apocrypha.
Yeah, everyone's been
sure
saying
that
that. I agree.
I don't want to spoil any more, but there's also not just new characters, there's returning ones. So Yeah, Naryu's coming back.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe you heard of her.
Yeah.
Nah, never heard of
And
her.
a personal favorite of mine, Sotha Sil, will be making an appearance.
Oh, love
This is the Dark Ram Mount.
him. Goat. Demon goat. Why is no one
players running
excited
around
about the
on this
goat?
mount.
No one is excited about the goat.
Some of the
Where's the
hardest
goat
content
hype?
that we have in the game.
Everybody
No
just
goat.
went, yeah, and then as soon
Now,
as they
we
showed
actually
it, they were
have
like,
another mount.
First, you'll be able to favorite some of the collectibles you've earned in-game. You can designate your favorite mounts from your collection, and anytime you summon up your mount, a random one from your favorites list will appear.
thank you.
Yeah.
Finally.
Furnishing bundles from the Crown Store will now also automatically be put into containers, taking up just one space in your inventory. I know, yeah. So you can take those items out and organize at your leisure.
My inventory
and
is
get
safe.
excited, anglers. Filleting fish just got a whole lot easier. You will now be able to use any provisioning station to fillet all those stacks of fish with a single
damn.
action.
Yeah, you either love her or you hate her. Stuga. Stuga will no longer relentlessly follow you with the wash of a P38.
I'll miss her.
She's now going to be stationary near certain taverns in Daggerfall, Davin's Watch, and Volkelgard. She will still try to flag you down, but she'll no longer chase you, and her greeting line will only play when you're within certain proximity of her. And then saving the best for last, the fair winds. This is a player house that is something we've never done before. Yes. It is a literal moving ship.
I thought they were going to do this with High Isle.
So the islands and terrain do move in the distance, so it looks like the ship is moving through the water while you're on it. If you fall off, the current will sweep you away from the ship, so watch your step. And the view from the crow's nest
I thought they'd
is
do that with High Isle.
amazing, not to be missed. See if you can
I
spot
really
some
did.
warnogs
But it's
playing in the waves in the distance.
Maybe they tried to before, but there were like
This
a lot
is
of
one player
technical
house you're not going to want to miss out
limitations
on.
with
It will come out sometime after the launch of Necrom, but you can check it out on the PTS along with the other two starting next week.
For everybody watching at home from around the globe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Let
you
me
can follow
in.
along on our official social channels for more coverage of the ESO
I'm
celebration and all
teleporting.
things Necrom.
I have actually played Necrom. I went to an event in London. We went to the Bethesda offices. They bribed us with delicious breakfast food. So my opinion about Necrom may be slightly biased because they did offer me croissants and sweet rolls and fresh fruit and chocolate. So most of my time on the play session, I kind of devoted to checking out the new class stuff because I have been to a few of these previews before. And I'm very much a lore person and a story person, and I like world exploration, and that's what we mostly do on streams. But I always regret not taking a deeper look at the classes, not like writing down more about the abilities and the skill lines. So I sat there. This is the notebook that they gave us as well. And I sat there and I scrolled nonsensical notes about the new class. Like, I don't even know what all of this says. I guess if we talk about the Arcanist first, because it's the thing that I see most people excited for, it really does feel different to any other class that's in the game right now. And I'm not just saying that. I feel like it's kind of like the buzz phrase at the moment. Everyone's like, oh, it's so unique, but it really is. So it's like a combo-based class, and you're building up charges of something called Crux. So in those trailers that we just saw, you would have seen these green triangles swirling around the characters. That is Crux. So Crux you generate, and then it's up to you how you want to spend the Crux. So you can spend the Crux on casting an ability, or you can keep the Crux for certain effects. And it's sort of this cycle of building Crux, spending Crux, building Crux, spending Crux, deciding when you want to use it. And it empowers different abilities in different ways. At the moment, at least as far as I saw, you can have 3 Crux, and that's the maximum. So it very much reminds me, if anyone has played Guild Wars 2, it very, very much reminds me of the Mesmer in Guild Wars 2, because the Mesmer can build stacks. And then once they have 3 stacks, they spend it, they can do a shatter, they can do some kind of CC with it as well. And then it's that cycle of build up the power, use it, build up the power, use it. They did kind of hint that there would be a bit more of an origin story for the Arcanist as well, because they wanted it to make sense in the world. Like, they didn't want to just chuck a class in. So as far as I can gather, they're hinting at there being some kind of origin questline. Another thing I was worried about, by the way, and I think a lot of people were worried about, is that the Arcanist would feel too similar to the Necromancer. To be fair, they have greatly confused probably people who don't play ESO, like who have never touched ESO. They see the Necrom expansion and they're probably going to think, oh yeah, the Necromancer is obviously part of the Necrom expansion, right? Like, if I want to play the Necromancer, I have to buy Necrom. It makes sense now why they just kept saying, I can't talk about that, or maybe soon, whenever somebody asked about a new class, because it has been a couple of years and they've been actively working on it for a couple of years now. Things have been very much under wraps and they haven't been able to say anything. That must be really frustrating when you're like, oh, we definitely have something really cool coming, but we just can't say anything. They mentioned there was like a healing-based tree and a DPS-based tree and obviously a tank-based tree. So the names of those, at least in the build that we played, maybe it'll change later, are Herald of the Tome, Soldier of Apocrypha is the tank, and then Curative Rune Forms. Abyssal Impact is the ability they were talking about during that preview as well. So you infuse your arm and you create essentially a tentacle arm. It has a really cool animation and you just go with the tentacle. It also marks your enemies with abyssal ink, which increases the damage dealt to them. Oh yeah, there's the Tome Bearer's Inspiration. So you etch runes into a weapon and it pulses for a few seconds and it enhances your class abilities. So like all your general class abilities as well. And it also generates crux. Brutality. I just wrote down brutality. Don't know what Pastoral meant about that. Subit bonus. Soak. I was literally sat there, I opened the tree and I just started scribbling. Like, to the point where the devs are like, do you want to go check out some of the zone now? And I'm like... So there was a ring that you can create on the floor, which is a rune, but it's a flawed rune. So it's like you've written the rune incorrectly. So if someone stands on it, it deals damage over time. And allies who are nearby can also activate the rune to make it deal damage. Soldier of Apocrypha, which is the tank tree, you basically gather in the strength of Apocrypha. You can make protective shields and protective tentacles. Oh yeah, more tentacles, chat's happy. So that you can absorb damage. And then for some of the abilities in this skill line, when the shield is fully depleted, the shield collapses and it deals damage. So it like tentacles lash out and deal damage to everybody near you. There was like a rune taunt, which generated crux as well. So when you get hit, it's generating crux for you. They had a fairly good self-heal that also applied lifesteal. There's so many shields, basically all the shields. If you like shields, this is the way to go. Rune of Eldritch Horror for paralyzing your enemies. And then Curative Rune Forms, that is the healing tree. I'm always really interested in how they do healing trees because in so many MMOs, healing is pretty boring, honestly. Like you look at a bunch of green, yellow, and red health bars, and your job is to make sure they don't go red. You want them green or yellow, and then you just sit there and you click things. So I've always really respected how ESO treats healing, and it's really such an active role to play. There was a beam of healing. If you're a fan of the damage beam, there was also a healing beam, which was called Remedy Cascade, where you like, but it's healing. A vortex of eldritch power that buffs people. And then, of course, the very famous Apocryphal Gate. So that is the teleport. It's actually quite easy to place the teleports. I thought it was going to be a whole faff and you'd be like zooming around during a fight like, oh my God, why did I want to place the teleport? This is taking so long. But it's actually quite intuitive. And there's like a marker on the floor for wherever you're facing. And you can decide where you want the exit and the entrance to be. All the abilities feel really good. Like, I think it's the sound work that they've done as well. It sounds very different to any other class. It's almost space-aged in how they do the sound effects. Like there's lots of... But I'm really curious to see where they fit in like a group situation. And honestly, my main thought at the moment is this feels really overpowered. But maybe that's just because it was so exciting. But at the time playing it, I did feel like, oh my God, this is OP as heck. The main spammable is Rune Blades that you're going to be doing a lot if you're an Arcanist. It's the main like damage ability. The one with the tentacles, which is called Abyssal Impact, is more of an execute. So you actually do more damage if the enemy is low on health as well. So that you're going to use to finish things off as well. DPS ultimate is Unblinking Eye. So that's the big eye creature that you summon that puts a beam of damage down on the floor. The healing one is Vitalizing Glyphic, which is this little kind of box thing that you summon, and it's an AoE heal. And I think like people can interact with it to do more heals and stuff. I didn't have a chance to try that one out in a group situation. The tank one is Gibbering Shield, which is like it sounds, a shield. I gotta say, like, of the 3 skill lines, the one that I was like, oh, okay, was the tank one, just because almost every ability was like, gives you a shield. I had a round table with CJ and Rich from the Elder Scrolls Online team. That's right, I was physically in the same space as CJ and Rich, and we were sitting on a kind of a round table. It was more of a square table, but I'll let it be. It was, we were going around the table and we were asking questions. There were a bunch of other ESO streamers and influencers there, and we got the chance to directly ask them questions. I have a note here. When I wrote the title for this page, I was obviously in a bit of a rush, and I've written Roundtable with CJ and Bitch. I think I was trying to write Rich. I'm pretty sure I was trying to write. Dawn had a good run on the stream team. Yeah, it's over, guys. My career is over. It's been nice knowing you. But they were talking in general about the Arcanist class, and they wanted it to feel very different. The whole like Crux combo system is how they did that. But they wanted to make it dynamic, so you sort of have to think about what you're doing. The Crux system is complicated, but if you want to play it at a basic level, you also can. So if you're one of those stats hungry people that really wants to min-max everything you do, you absolutely can. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Almalexia in Tales of Tribute, our queen, Almalexia. The question that was asked, I can't remember who asked it, but someone said, did you specifically build Almalexia to counter a current deck that's out there? And they went, well, you know, we didn't make the deck to like destroy anyone, but when you're building a card game, you naturally need to have counters for other things, and like you can add another deck in to help with balance. So Almalexia is basically built to slow other decks down. There's literally an ability called Confine, where you place cards from your opponent's cooldown pile under a card until the card on top is destroyed from play. Like they can't use it until that card on top has been destroyed. Oh, you have a super powerful thing? Oh, it's in prison now. So Almalexia's ability is that you can discard a card from your hand and draw up to that many cards. So like you donate cards and then you can take new cards in return. So she's all about removing cards from play, replacing cards with things that are less useful. She's a little bit trolly, some really useful utility, especially comboed with another deck. Cannot even imagine what she's like with Regine comboed. That's just trolly. It's like, oh, you want to do anything? No. I did actually ask a question during the roundtable about Apocrypha, because I was like, maybe this is a stupid question, but I have to know. You have a realm where the buildings are almost entirely made out of books. How many of those books can we actually read? Can I read all of them? And they did sort of say, we wish you could read all of them, but I think all of our devs would be dead, was essentially the answer. But apparently they have done something really clever where they can bring in a lot of the lore books that are already in the game. So the team have come up with a way to include stuff that's already out there in the world in the library of Hermaeus Mora. So it's going to be like all the books in the game in Hermaeus Mora's realm. So yeah, you will be able to find some new books and also some old books in there as well. What did they tell you about the ship house? Sadly, nothing. We asked during the roundtable with CJ and Rich, like, can you tell us about like any new houses that are coming out? And they said, we can't tell you anything yet, but there will be houses. It was just kind of that like, yeah, there's gonna be houses. We can't tell you what yet. It was nice that the ship house was a surprise for me today. I did think they'd do one for High Isle. I thought that was a given for High Isle, like they'd do a ship house because it was the ship expansion. But maybe they were working on it and they just decided this isn't ready yet. Let's wait until the next chapter or the next like big event that we do, because you know, if something's not ready to go out, it's not ready to go out. And I appreciate that. During the roundtable, we asked about the Endless Dungeon. From my own notes, I've put 2M, Endless, in development. So they did confirm it's a 2-man Endless Dungeon. So you and a friend. If you've ever done the Endless Dungeon in Final Fantasy Online, I think it's kind of similar to that. So you just keep going through the levels until you fail. But we don't know anything about it basically. And they couldn't talk about it yet. That's coming in Q4 this year. So it was very much on the we'd really love to tell you, but we can't kind of list. But we tried. Yes, the trial. So we had Zynode in our playgroup. He makes all the build guides for ESO, character guides, dungeon guides, trial guides. That's his thing. So he really wanted to go into the trial, and he was trying to recruit people during the play session, like, come on, come join the trial. We need more people. The trial is sort of like this nightmare realm. So you're inside of somebody else's nightmare, and it's this twisted city. It's kind of beautiful as well, though. It's this like twisted version of Alanor almost, and it has this beautiful skybox, a starry night with purple stars and sunset, but some horrific creatures in it. All the betentacled beasties that you'd expect. We made it to the first boss. We actually killed the first boss. I don't want to spoil what the first boss is, but they are really working on making unique mechanics that you never will have seen before, is all I'm gonna say. And we managed to down them. I think it was just me and Zynode left by the end, and I was like mashing the keyboard and doing beams at them, but we did manage to kill them. Oh, for the world event, you were collecting Daedric Ichor, and then you return it to these wells in the map. And once you have enough Ichor, then you can go to this other realm, go into the Bastion Nimic, which they revealed the name of today. Oh, I didn't get to spend time with the new companions, but we did hear some more about them. So the Argonian, they said, was kind of like Jason Bourne. So he doesn't remember his past life very much. He doesn't remember who he is. And I think part of his personal story is going to be you helping him remember his past and like find clues about his past. And then the Red Guard guy, he's just a wacky guy. He's just a wacky wizard man from the realm of Firmaeus Mora. It's a very serious question from AK. Why is there not a canine race so you can create a Arcanist? Well, actually, I think you're wrong there, because there is a canine race. You can be a werewolf. You can be a werewolf Arcanist. And I am immediately going to write that down to suggest to Zynode for a werewolf Arcanist build. Thank you all for watching the reveal with me. It was really great seeing everybody's reactions live. And I'm so glad that I can finally answer some questions. If anyone is watching this on YouTube now, leave any questions you have in the comments below. Seeing as I am no longer silenced, I'll do my best to answer them.